All right, so let's just do a real quick recap of where we've been. We've been talking about offerings, things that we have been given and that we are giving back to the Lord. So we talked about money, possessions, and gifts already, and we're going to talk about time tonight. But we talked about all of this stuff like under the overarching framework that this is stuff that we've been given as like, first as a gift, and then also it's not really mine, right? It's stuff that I'm stewarding. Remember we talked about the word steward. I'm a stewardess. That'd be like my Lord of the Rings illustration, right? Where the guy is like in charge of the kingdom, but it's not his kingdom. He's just sort of keeping watch over it until the king returns. That's sort of the idea that we have here, and that everything that we have, whether it's a thing, whether it's some change, or whether it's relationships, time, whatever, it's not really mine. It's something that I've been given to use for God's glory. So, talk about time tonight. And I would say that the gift of time of all of these things, whether money, possessions, gifts, talents, spiritual gifts, whatever, time is the one thing that we all have in common. Okay? You might say, I disagree because there are people that are older, there are people that live longer, people that have more time or less time. Okay? That's true. However, what I'm talking about is the fact that we all have right now. We all have right now. We all have the opportunity to use it for God's glory. We might all use that differently. We all might do different things or act in different ways. But we all have now to use for God's glory. And with that, again, I remember the time that I have is only mine. I can't save time, even though we use that expression, because if I try to save it, it's like, it's gone. It's just there. Now it's gone. So the time that I've been given is a gift, and I should use it for God's glory. So open your Bibles to Ephesians 5. We're going to just look at 3 verses tonight. Ephesians 5. First one there. Read Ephesians 5, verses 15 through 17. It's like a sword drill. You guys ever done sword drills? It's like a previous generation thing. Okay, let's check. Ephesians 5, verses 15 through 17. Whoever's there, go. Are you there? Grace, you got it? No? Are you lying to me, Grace? Who's got it? Go ahead.
Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is.
Okay. All right. So, walk carefully, not as unwise, but as wise. Make the best use of the time. The days are evil. Don't be foolish. But understand what the will of the Lord is. Okay, simple enough. Let's watch. No, we're talking about this. Okay. So, talk to me just a little bit about what it means to make the best use of the time, or to use the time well. Talk me through what that might look like for you guys. What does it mean to make the best use of the time? Go ahead.
To have if you have an hour and you have 3 things to do, you could give each one a particular amount of time and just make sure you stick on that.
Okay. Alright, so maybe evenly dividing my time so that I've got enough time to cover all the things I've got to get done. Good. Other ways to make the best use of the time. What does it mean to make the best use of the time? Yeah, go ahead.
By being productive.
Being productive. Good. Good word. I like it. Any other thoughts? Ben, if you had to make the best use of your time.
Just set priorities.
Okay, cool. So, what was that last word?
Don't stall.
Oh, don't stall. Yeah, don't procrastinate. Don't drag your feet. That's awesome. Yeah. So maybe even a good use of my time is to think through what I want to do at that time. Not so long because I'm just stalling. But thinking through so I can use that wisely, dividing the time wisely. Okay. Awesome. Cool. So the word for best use, guys, actually, believe it or not, is the same word for redeemed. Okay. It's the Greek word exagorazo, which is to redeem or to rescue from a loss. So, guys, the idea here is, we usually think about the word redeem, we think about what Jesus did for us to save us, right? And so it's that same idea, and that's something that is out there. Like I want to rescue it, I want to save it, I want to use it well, I want to keep it from being lost, because the opportunities that are gone, I can't get them back. Okay? They're missed forever. They can't be recalled. So here's a question. Based on this verse, based on what you've ever been taught, based on what your parents' priorities are, is it ever okay to waste time? Ever okay to waste time? What do you guys think? Yeah.
Maybe if you're just on a vacation.
Okay, alright. So if I've set time aside to waste, then it might be alright. Okay.
What do you mean by wasting time? Like playing on your phone for an hour or something?
Yeah, I think that would definitely qualify as wasting time. So anything, it's a really good question actually, because depending on what your priorities are, what's important to you, something to you might not be wasting time, but something to somebody else might be. Tony?
Yeah.
Or if like someone's forcing you to do something bad, I guess you could stall. I mean, that could be a good way to waste time.
Yeah, so, yeah, did you guys, I saw this thing going around on the internet. It was like a father-son, they're having like a text conversation, and the kid was at like a party where he felt really unsafe, and they had like set aside this like special code word to send around, and so he just texted this one word, and it, like, to anybody else it would look like whatever, but his dad knew that was like his signal to come and rescue him from this party. So maybe in something like that, like, you know, you're sort of trying to wait until you can get help. So there might be a good opportunity there for stalling. Okay. Good thought, Jen. Anybody else? Is wasting time okay? So we said on vacation, wasting time might be alright. We said that there might be different definitions of wasting time. Yeah.
Wasting time in a good way, like do something good instead of something bad, like that's what he said.
Okay. Yeah, but then I'd argue is that really wasting time?
I guess not.
Alright.
I think like wasting time is completely useless.
Okay. Well, what's completely useless to you?
Like just sitting there.
Like right now? You're wasting time right now?
No.
I'm offended. I know what you mean. Tyler.
Like, say I do a sport and I said, oh, I can't believe I just wasted all this time on that sport.
Oh, yeah. So maybe you spent all this time and you lost. And it's,
Yeah.
you know, put all this effort in.
I
and
can't believe I
nothing
just
showed.
spent all that time and I lost.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can appreciate that. But I guess the question then is, what have I actually gotten from that time? Because I would argue that's not wasting time if you're, you know, if you're spending time with friends, if you're exercising, if you're honing your skills, if
Yeah,
you're,
you get something out of
all
it.
those kinds of things, right? Okay.
You shouldn't waste time if you're supposed to be doing something.
Okay, yeah. So what are my priorities right now? What is the most important thing for me to be doing? Am I dragging my feet from something I shouldn't be doing? Good. Really good discussion, guys. This is a challenging topic because we all have different perspectives on this. The question is, so wasting time, I would define wasting time as, you know, neglecting a responsibility, aimlessly just wasting away hours watching TV, you know, things where I'm just like, I'm passive, I'm not doing anything active, I'm not being productive, I'm not engaging with other people, right? There's lots of different ways that we can understand wasting time. But however we define that, we gotta understand that if there's something better that I could be doing, you know, if there's something that, you know, more productive that I could be doing, if there's something more important that I should be doing, I'm probably wasting time. Okay. Time wasted is time gone forever. So, right? Everybody go like this. Ready? Those are the seconds. We're never getting back. Okay. Time is like I'm literally wasting time right now. Okay. All right. So Tony, yeah. Let me get to my point here, okay? Because we're gonna run out of time here. So time wasted is time gone forever. So maybe a question I should ask is, am I gonna regret what I'm doing right now if I don't do something else? Okay. Maybe not necessarily I'm doing something bad per se, but like, you know, if I don't study now and choose to watch TV instead, am I gonna regret because I fail my test, right?
Yes.
Immediately I'm gonna regret that, okay, because I made that choice. Or long term, like, so I think about, you know, in high school, I'm really bad at math. Like, math is just not a strong suit for me, and largely because I didn't really care about it in high school. So there's a long term regret now, like, man, I wasted time in high school, or, you know, not studying when I should have been studying, or, you know, not applying these or learning these things when I should have been learning them. And so now there's a little bit of regret there. I mean, I'm not like too broken about it, but you know, math just is not coming easily to me. Okay, so there's going to be regrets if we waste time. And I think, Evie, what you were getting at a little bit is the fact that there's a difference between wasting time and actually like resting or setting aside a time for recreation. Okay, so like being intentional with time is maybe a good way to understand it. That I'm purposely setting this time aside to do exercise, or purposely setting this time aside to play with friends, purposely setting this time aside for vacation. Okay, so I'm not necessarily wasting that time so much as I am actually using it for that purpose. You know, using it for rest, using it to enjoy the company of friends and family. Okay? What am I doing? Am I just sort of, you know, wasting time, or am I actually using it purposely, using it intentionally? Does that make sense? Right. Again, we're all gonna have some slightly different definitions of that, but maybe some of these things will help out. So, here's what I want to talk about tonight. Sinful tendencies that come along with wasting time. Sinful tendencies associated with wasting time. We're gonna say 4 things, and then we will be done. All right. So, fear and procrastination, pride and procrastination, laziness, which none of us are, I'm sure, and impulsiveness or lack of self-control. So let's talk about this first one: fear and procrastination. So, sometimes we waste time, in other words, because we are afraid, so we procrastinate. And I find this, guys, in the book of Matthew. So let me just give you a little background. Okay, we get this story that Jesus tells of a master who goes away and he gives money to 3 servants. Okay, does it sound familiar? He gives one guy a large sum of money, one guy a middle sum of money, and another guy like a tiny little bit of money. The first 2 guys do a really good job. They go out and they invest. Okay, one guy's like, okay, Nintendo's stock is up. I'm investing in Nintendo. He doubles his master's money, and that's great. And the next guy, he invests his stock in Instagram. His money doubles, and it's great. Okay, he doubles his money. The third guy, however, is like, I don't know what to do. Snapchat's going down. I don't know, so I don't want to invest in that. So he panics. He's fearful, and he buries the money in the backyard. All right. So the master comes home, commends the 2 first guys because they doubled the money. There's different amounts of money, but they doubled it. Like they made really wise investments. And he gets to this third guy. Okay, and this is the reaction, right? Yep. So this is the guy who had just a little bit of money speaking. He also, however, received 1 talent, or like a year's sum of money. Came forward saying, "Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you didn't sow, gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here, have what is yours." But his master answered him, "You wicked and slothful, lazy servant. You knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I scattered no seed." And then he goes on to say, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you, at least invest it and double the money that I gave you? And he actually takes the money away and gives it to the other guy. So here's the point, guys. Sometimes when we are afraid, it keeps us from doing what we know to be right. Right? Fear is detrimental when it keeps us from doing what we know to be right. Right? We procrastinate because we're afraid. The reality is that we all have to do things that are hard and that make us uncomfortable. Okay? Good things that are hard and that make us uncomfortable because, it's all part of the growing, learning experience. We're not going to know and be comfortable doing everything the first time we do it. But when we know it's the right thing to do, we shouldn't let fear enable us to procrastinate and drag our feet. Okay? Does that make sense? You're walking with me so far? All right, let's talk about pride and procrastination. Pride and procrastination. And this verse from Psalm 90 says, "Teach us to number our days so that we may get wisdom." What does it mean to number your days? Thoughts, Tony? To count them? Okay, yes. Specifically, let's go a little deeper in that.
Don't waste them.
Don't waste them. Okay. Yeah, good. Use them well. Good. Plan ahead. Yeah. Okay. So here's the idea. A wise man says, "I don't have all the time in the world. I should be wise with the time that I have." Not literally trying to predict. Okay, I've got 18 days left until I die or something. Okay, that would be terrible. But just being conscious of the fact that time is going on and I want to use it well. I want to use it wisely. Counting the cost of the time. Pastor Phil says this: the procrastinator doesn't number his days; he presumes upon them. What does it mean to presume? It sounds like assume. It kind of means similar thing too. What does it mean to presume?
Presume?
Anybody know what assume means? If I assume something is true, what does that mean?
You just I don't know how to explain it. You're just like, it's a,
Yeah.
You just are like, oh, I guess it's true.
Yes. Yes is probably a good synonym. Okay. I'm assuming that it's going to work out. I'm just trusting, but I'm not really trusting because I don't have anything to base that trust on. I'm just guessing. Just hoping, right? So somebody who procrastinates, guys, is like, I'll have time later. It's not that big of a deal. I don't have to do it right now. I've got plenty of time in the world. So somebody who's prideful and a procrastinator says, you know what? I don't have to do that right now. I'm good where I am. Don't have to worry about it right now. Okay? Does that describe anybody? Okay. It's like that's something that we all do. Something we all do when we struggle with pride and procrastination is that we assume we're going to have time later. We don't number the days and take wise stock over how much time we have. We just assume we'll have time later. Sometimes also, along with pride, we think a task is like beneath us, so we drag our feet, right? So mom's like, clean your room. You're like, it's done. It's just getting dirty again. It's beneath me. I don't want to do that. So we allow our pride because we want to do other more important things, and our sense of procrastination, and assuming that we'll have time later, and assuming that mom won't punish me later, and we just don't do it, right? We procrastinate. And sometimes also on the other side of this too, we know something's really hard for me. You're having a really hard time figuring out how to do something. You're working through, some kind of homework, and you just don't know how to do it, but you just don't want to ask for help, and so you put it off, right? Because you can't figure it out on your own. You don't want to ask for help, so you just leave it. done. Procrastinate. Prideful. We don't want to do that. We don't want to assume that we'll have time later. We want to make sure that we make the best use of the time now.
It's kind of like you don't want to ask for help because you think it will make you look stupid.
Yeah, exactly. I should be smart enough to figure this out on my own. I don't want anybody to know that I'm having a hard time figuring this out. Okay, it's a very easy train of thought for us to fall into. So we don't want to do that. We want to ask for help when we need it so that we don't procrastinate. Number 3, laziness. Nobody in here is lazy. I know. Let's take stock. Turn to the book of Proverbs. We're going to look at 3 quick Proverbs here. So Proverbs 6 is where we're starting. Proverbs 6. And this is how we're going to determine whether or not anybody in this room is lazy. Just wait for somebody under the bus. Okay. Proverbs 6, verse 9. Here's what it says. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep? Okay. How many of you in the morning, it's time for school,
No, don't use this one, please.
Mom has to come into the room and say, how long are you going to lie there? Because breakfast is on the counter, and we're getting ready to go. Everybody's waiting in the car. And Abby,
My mom would say like at least 6 times a week.
6 times.
I'll just kind of like hear what she's saying, like open my eyes.
But like it's
And
coming
then I
from a
go back.
unicorn's body, and like there's like snakes around your feet and stuff because you're dreaming. Yeah,
I'm not a
not a morning person.
And
Right.
then I'm a grumpy.
You're a grump in the morning
I
too.
went off for 10 minutes this morning.
Right.
That would drive me insane. I don't
Does that drive everybody else in the
I
house?
didn't even hear it. Like, I didn't hear it. And then I woke up and was like, oh, let's keep going up.
I don't set alarms for that because I was set.
Just like sleep right
What I used to do to make me get up, I would put my like alarm clock across the room, so I'd have to get out of bed to turn it off.
That's what I did.
And then
That's really smart, actually.
I got really tired of getting out of bed.
I had one when I was still living in my parents' house. My alarm clock was one of those. Like you could set it to like play the radio when it woke you up, which would never wake me up. Or you could put it on this like blaring alarm sound. It was like,
That's
oh! So it was like it was
That's
impossible to sleep through it.
It was mine, and I just do it for 10 minutes.
My phone has like you can set the alarm clock to be a rooster.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. I think I'd probably sleep with that too. But all right. So here's the thing. Do you love to stay in bed when you should be up and active?
Yes.
You might all struggle with a little laziness there. And especially, guys, I would say, if you have a hard time finding time to do your quiet time, but you also sleep in, 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe we struggle with laziness a little bit. Because there's time we could be using for something else. I'm guilty of this also. We often skip it in the morning because we're like, time later, but then later never comes, right? If we love to stay in bed when we should be up and active, we might struggle with laziness and we might struggle with wasting time a little bit. Next Proverb 13. Proverbs 13:4. First person there, read it. At least it's me, but I'm going to let somebody else go.
The
Proverbs
soul
13:4.
of the sluggard desireth and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat.
Shall be made fat. Yes, that's like King James translation there, man. So if you think back to olden days, they didn't have a lot of food, or at least a lot of nutritious food. So if you ever read in like an old translation of something and it was made fat, it actually means made healthy because like most of the time they had like no skin on their bones and they were just like skeletal.
So fat was healthy?
That was not fat like overweight, but like there's fat on the bones. In other words, it's not just the bones. Yeah. Go ahead, Tony.
So, I'm like an old sluggard.
Perhaps. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the soul of the diligent is richly supplied, is how the ESV
Oh,
reads.
mine was the American version.
American version, yeah, there's probably a couple ones that retain some of that wording.
Old sluggard.
It's verse 4, Proverbs 13. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the
Looking at
soul...
Griffin, I was like,
Yeah, probably something completely different. Here's the point, guys. The irony of somebody who's lazy is that they really just want to lay there, just want to be content. But what this verse communicates is that the lazy person is actually really dissatisfied. They just crave it, but nothing is really satisfied. They're restless, right? Because even though they're just laying around sleeping all day and they get to do whatever they want, because they're lazy, there's something missing, right? They're just looking for something. The desire for that kind of rest is just, it is impossible to achieve and actually be. That's what this verse is saying, okay? Do you feel unsatisfied and restless sometimes? I struggle with this a little bit. Last one, Proverbs 22:13. Proverbs 22, verse 13. First one there, read it. This is my favorite one. Proverbs 22:13.
The sluggard says there is a lion outside. I shall be killed in the streets.
Okay. The sluggard says, there's a lion outside, I shall be killed in the streets. What's going on here?
He's too lazy to get out of his house.
He's too lazy to get out of his house. But what's he doing?
Excuses.
Excuses, yeah. There's a lion outside. It's gonna kill me. I'm gonna stay here. It's safer inside.
That's me.
Right?
Well, that's smart.
It's maybe, but is there really a lion there?
Actually a lion.
No, there's not really a lion there. Okay, that's the
You don't
That's,
know
that's the. Well, he's hoping I don't know that. That's what he said. Do you make excuses? Do you make excuses to avoid work? Probably struggle with laziness a little bit. Okay, guys. Here's what laziness is. Here's how I'm going to define it. Oh, my clicker's on. Laziness is the inability to prioritize anything but my comfort and my entertainment. Laziness is my inability to prioritize anything but my comfort and my entertainment. Is comfort a big deal to you? Is entertainment a big deal to you? I struggle with laziness, alright? And guys, laziness is the key, probably the biggest one in all of this that is a time-wasting thing, because it's just so easy in that, because I just crave comfort and entertainment. Just sit back and relax. Just watch TV, watch another episode, have another smoothie, whatever you're eating, okay? Just being lazy, just bring it all to me, okay? I'm prioritizing only my comfort and my entertainment. Alright, last one. Impulsiveness or lack of self-control. Impulsiveness or lack of self-control is a time-wasting mechanism. Why? I'll talk about it in a second. Proverbs 25, this is one of my favorite proverbs. It says, a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. Now, we live in the United States. Not a lot of cities with walls around here, right? Have you ever driven through any city in the United States that has a wall around it? Probably not, okay? Tony's saying yes. What city have you driven through the wall around it?
I was talking about Trump wall, but it's not really
Trump
like
wall.
that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It's not really there yet, but we will eventually have it. So here's the reason why we don't have walls around
It's
cities
actually
anymore.
healthy for the environment.
To have a wall.
It's supposed to be like solar.
We're not gonna go there. All right. Here's why we don't see walls around cities anymore. Okay? Because if ever a war breaks out, we just fly over the wall and drop a bomb, and then the city's gone anyway. So walls you would see, especially around cities during Bible times, because their weaponry was not such that they could just fly over a wall and drop a bomb on the people. They actually had to like storm the city. So walls were actually key defensive things, because we're talking even in the Bible times they don't even have like catapults fully yet. Like they're still developing that technology. So walls are a huge defensive mechanism. So in other words, a man who's like a city without walls is a city without any kind of defense. Okay? And so, here's the point, and here's a definition from Jerry Bridges about what self-control is. He says that self-control is the control of one's own desires, cravings, impulses, emotions, passions. All the stuff I feel, it's the ability for me to keep a lid on that and not let myself be controlled by the stuff that I'm feeling. Okay? And he says it is saying no when we should say no. It is moderation in legitimate desires and activities and absolute restraint in areas that are clearly sinful. A person who has no self-control just lets all that stuff in. He's like a city without walls. There's no defense, and all the sinful stuff just comes right in. Okay? And here's the reason why self-control is so important when it comes to wasting time. Because if I'm just ruled by those desires, guys, I'm just doing whatever I feel like, how can I ever possibly do that stuff that I know is important but I don't feel like doing? Right? My homework, my chores, helping people out, going to church, ministry, okay? Things that are important, that the Bible says are important, if I just like do whatever I feel like and I have no self-control over that, I'm never going to get around to that stuff, and I waste my time. And that's, if you turn back to Ephesians, we actually can see this principle here. So look back at Ephesians again with me where we were. Ephesians 5, verse 15. Here's what we see. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise. Here's what I want to say about self-control. Self-control is the practical exercise of wisdom. Self-control is the practical exercise of wisdom. So you might say, like, sometimes you talk about the differences between like knowledge and wisdom, and you're like, what's knowledge, what's wisdom, what's the same, really different, and you say like wisdom is knowledge applied. I'd say that self-control is wisdom applied, right? It's like one step even more into this direction, okay? Because when I walk carefully and I evaluate with wisdom the way that I'm living, the way that I'm walking, is the word in the ESV, then I'm exercising that self-control. I'm keeping myself from saying and doing things that I maybe feel like doing but I know are wrong, and then training myself to do the things that are hard to do that I don't really want to do. Here's some things that I should practice self-control in. I should practice self-control by doing everything in moderation. No binging. Okay? So when Netflix asks you, are you still watching? Because you've watched 6 episodes in a row, alright? It's time to move on, okay? Everything in moderation. 1 episode. And so Evie, I'm going to come back to your idea. You were talking about like using the time that you have and like splitting it up so like it's okay to watch an episode of a TV show. Totally okay. Wonderful. Alright? But if you have this amount of time, you've got these things to get done, watch 1 episode and then save the time that you have left over. Or I would say you do those things first and then watch your TV episode after that, okay? It's okay to have that kind of division of time, but do it with moderation. Don't just like indulge in that over and over again. And even if the show's, it's not wrong to watch it, it's not what I'm saying, but that's where I'm going.
So if you have Netflix on your Xbox, if you watch at least 1 episode a day for 60 days, it'll give you an achievement saying like, it's like, congratulations, you've watched for 60 days, or just like stupid things like that. Like,
yeah.
I don't know how you'd even do that.
So how many of those achievements have you got, Benny?
My brother though.
Oh, your bro, yeah. That's Jared. He's the one. I got it. All right. Netflix is so. Here's the thing, though, guys. Netflix, like I make fun of Netflix all the time because that's something we all watch. But I feel like Netflix is just the epitome of our culture now, okay? And then just one more, and then maybe there's a guilt trip kind of reminder in there that, hey, you've been watching TV for a long time, but all you gotta do is close out of that and keep watching, okay? And that's really the way we treat ourselves in America today is just one more, I've got that would work. Keep going.
On the Wii, we would always like laugh when the little thing popped up and it was like, you've been playing for like so long, you need to go outside. Just like,
yeah, exactly. It gives you like a little bit of a guilt trip, but it doesn't actually force you to do anything. Another thing you could do moderation in is controlling what you're eating. I remember my best friend in high school and I, one night we would like stay over each other's houses all the time and like play video games all night long. I don't know how I did that. Like I'd stay up until 4 in the morning with you guys for an all night. I was like dead for a week. But anyway, we would stay up all night, and one of our favorite desserts we'd always have was cheesecake. Any cheesecake fans?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So we would always have either his mom or my mom either make or buy a cheesecake whenever we do one of these sleepover things.
Cheesecake Factory?
No, this was prior to the Cheesecake Factory being popular. My mom makes a chocolate cheesecake that, no lie, weighs 5 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
It's like the heaviest thing because it's like I'm gonna say it's 6 packs of cream cheese with like chocolate. It's amazing. But anyway, no lie, one night the 2 of us ate an entire cheesecake.
That's awesome. That's on my bucket list.
It is an achievement, right? That's like 60 days of watching Netflix, ate an entire cheesecake in one night. Okay. Here's the thing, guys. Maybe then my metabolism was a little better. I'm not gonna do that anymore, and I would not encourage you guys to do that either. Okay, things in moderation. It is good. It is a discipline and self-control to even recognize. Okay, you know what? I should like limit what I'm doing here. Whether it's watching TV, whether it's playing a game, whether it's eating something. Just being conscious of the way that you're consuming something and setting limits on yourself. So you know what? I'm not overindulging. Does that make sense? Okay. Just a silly little thing, but I think it's important for us to learn self-control in those areas. Because then it trains us to really be self-controlled in the areas where it's harder to say yes or something. So, here's where we are. Fear, procrastination, sinful tendency associated with wasting time, pride and procrastination, laziness, lack of self-control. Guys, instead of living here and just wasting our time because it is a gift that we've been given, I want to focus on eternity. So what I mean by that is I want to live with, let me say it this way. I want to live in the present Because if I'm just focusing on the future and never thinking about now, I'm never going to plan well. And I don't want to live in the past because I don't want to just be either full of regrets over my mistakes and never being moved forward, or just wishing that I was back in the past because it was so much better back then, right? I'm going to live in the present, learning from the past with my eyes on the future, okay? Anybody ever walk through this room when it's dark in here?
Yes.
It's scary. You never know if there's mice, and you're going to run into things. It's really hard to get across this room in the dark, okay? So, living through life, here's my wonderful analogy for you, okay? Is like you got to keep your eyes on where you're walking in the youth loft, okay? Because if you're like just looking down there, you're gonna like run into the stage and crash into things and break your knee or something, okay? And I've done that too, and it's awful. And I often will turn all the lights off. I'm so dumb. Turn the lights off and then pick up all my stuff and try to walk through here and get out. Right? Not very smart. But if I keep my eyes on where I'm walking and I'm not looking that way, I'm not looking that way, but actually like focusing on where I'm walking, but moving in that direction, it's a pretty good picture of the way we should live our lives, right? I want to be focused on now, but I also want to learn from the past, and I also want to maintain my motion towards the future. Okay, Tony, go ahead.
Can we do sardines again?
we'll do sardines again. Okay. Also, last point here. Look at verse 17 one more time of Ephesians 5. Okay. So I'll just read these 3 verses again. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. Anybody know what the will of the Lord is? Anybody figured that out? Okay. Here's the thing. The will of the Lord is not some mystical thing you have to guess at and figure out what it is. Okay. The will of the Lord is spelled out for you in the Scriptures. Okay. Sometimes it's as explicit as 2 Thessalonians, where it says, abstain from sexual immorality, for this is the will of God. Sometimes it actually attaches a command to the will of God, and it's just really clear. Like, I don't have to guess at that. But the entire Bible, guys, is all about how we use what God has given to glorify Him. Okay? And so the question isn't, I gotta figure out what God's will is for me. It's, I gotta make choices that are glorifying to Him. Okay? I gotta make choices that are glorifying to Him, whether it's a small choice, whether it's a big choice. I don't have to guess and figure out what His will is, because it says right here, I can do that, right? I want to understand what the will of the Lord is by walking carefully, not as unwise, but as wise, and making the best use of my time. So here's some questions that we should ask ourselves, okay? You guys can ask yourselves. What are your future goals, and how can you use them for God's glory? Okay? That's how you can figure out what the will of God is for you. It's not a mystery. It's, what's your goal, and how can you use that to glorify God? Okay? What are your parents' goals for you? What are some things that you can work towards now? What relationships do you currently have that you should be investing in right now? What brothers and sisters in Christ do you have that you can be encouraging, that you can be training with, that you can be discipling? Okay? How can you manage your time on a day-to-day basis in a way that gives God glory? What are some changes to your schedule and your habits that you can start working on right now when you walk out of this room to give God glory? And then lastly, how important is your relationship with Jesus to you? Not lastly, this is the most important one, but this is the weightiest one. How important is your relationship with Jesus to you? I'm going to close with this little story here, so pay attention, and we'll end with this. All right. It's a little lengthy, so stay with me. A man sits by himself at a table for 2. The uniformed waiter appears at his side. Would you like to go ahead and order, sir? The man has, after all, been waiting since 7 o'clock, almost a half an hour. No, thank you, the man says with a smile. I'll wait for her a little longer. How about some more coffee? Certainly, sir. The man sits, his deep brown eyes gazing straight through the flowered napkins. He fingers his napkin, allowing the sounds of light chatter, tinkling silverware, and mellow music to fill his mind. Anyone observing would get the sense that he wants his companion to feel important, respected, and loved. The waiter returns to fill the man's coffee cup. Is there anything else I can get for you, sir? No, thank you. The waiter remains standing at the table. Something tugs at his curiosity. I don't mean to pry, but his voice trails off. This line of conversation could jeopardize his tip, if not his job. Go ahead, the man encourages. His voice is strong, yet sensitive, inviting conversation. Why do you bother waiting for him? The waiter finally asks. This man has been at the restaurant other evenings, always alone, always patient. Because she needs me. Are you sure? Yes. Well, sir, no offense, sir, but assuming that she needs you, she sure isn't acting much like it. She stood you up 3 times just this week. The man winces and looks down. Yes, I know. And why do you still come here and wait? She said she'd be here. She said that before, the waiter protests. I wouldn't put up with it. Why do you? Now the man looks up at the waiter with a smile. Because I love her. The waiter walks away, wondering how one could love a girl who stands him up 3 times a week. The man must be crazy, he decides. From across the room, he turns and looks again at him. After staring for a moment into the mug, the man brings it to his mouth and sips, silently watching those around him. He doesn't look crazy, the waiter admits. Maybe the girl has extraordinary qualities, or maybe the man's love is stronger than most. Pulling himself out of his musings, he moves to take an order from a party of 5. Setting his coffee cup down, the man at the table recalls the many things he wanted to discuss with his guest. But really, he was mostly looking forward to hearing her voice, telling him about her day, her triumphs, her defeats, anything. Yes, she stood him up before, but he still can't get used to it. Each time it hurts. He's looked forward to this evening all day. He's tried so many times to show her how much he loves her. The clock says 9:30 and the waiter returns to the man's table, still with one empty chair. Anything I can get for you? No, I think that'll be all for tonight. May I have the check, please? Yes, sir. When the waiter leaves, the man picks up the check. He pulls out his wallet and signs. He has had enough money to have given his guest a feast, but he takes out only enough to pay for his coffee. Goodbye, the waiter says as the man walks towards the door. Good night. Thanks for your service. You're welcome, sir, says the waiter softly, for he sees the hurt in the man's eyes, and his smile doesn't hide. The man stops at the front and makes a reservation for the following evening. Maybe she'll be able to make it then, he thinks. 7 o'clock tomorrow, party of 2, the hostess confirms. That's right, the man replies. Do you think she'll come? Asks the hostess. She doesn't mean to be rude, but she's watched the man alone many times at his table for 2. Someday, yes, and I will be there waiting for her. The man buttons his overcoat and walks out of the restaurant alone. His shoulders are hunched, but through the windows the hostess can only guess whether they're hunched against the wind or against the man's hurt. About the time the man steers his car out of the restaurant's parking lot, a young girl falls into bed. Exhausted after school and an evening with friends, she reaches toward her nightstand to set the alarm on her phone. Oh shoot, she says aloud when she sees the reminder she'd scheduled for herself and ignored when it went off. Spend some time in prayer. For a moment she hesitates, considering the time and how tired she is. Then she sets the alarm and puts down her phone. I'll do it tomorrow night for sure. Besides, she told herself, she needed tonight with her friends, and now she needs her sleep. Tomorrow night will be fine. Jesus will forgive her. She's sure he doesn't mind. It is a testament to how much we hoard and presume upon our time. It's a testament to how much we value Jesus. Right? So again, we want to look carefully at how we walk. Ephesians 5:15. Look carefully at how we walk, not as unwise, but as wise. So guys, what value do you place on studying Scripture, on spending time with Christ in prayer, and ministry towards one another? These are priorities that we need to focus on if we want to be people that use time well, redeem time if you will. Not just waste it. Any questions? Alright, let's be wise with our time and not monsters. Let's close in prayer, and that's there. Lord Jesus, thank you for